To Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Alan Sproat. I have been a part of the church for several years. I've been in the Horizon Players. I served on the board. My wife and I help organize the game night, monthly game night here. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to gather and worship, to practice what it means to be human. We're called to bring a teaching of hope, to bring a saving message, to welcome all in our doors, the joyful, the heartbroken, atheists and Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus and Buddhists, people of faith and no faith, straight and gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, all who are searching, seeking, looking for more meaning, more service, more love. All of us gathered here together to practice what it means to be human. We offer a special welcome to our visitors, remembering that many of us now here were in our past also searching for a community to which we could belong and in which we could grow and create meaning independently and together. I think that we do that well here, striving not for perfection, but to be real and to make connections. You can find out more about our church by visiting our Facebook page or our website, by reading the bulletin boards in the lobby, and by checking out your order of service, and by joining us for conversation after the service. This is why I hate paper. There is one short announcement today, and check your order of service for other upcoming activities and events. A memorial service will be held for Gordon Rowe, longtime member of Horizon and founder of Horizon Players, tomorrow at 2 p.m. The service will be streamed, so those of you who do not want to show up in person can join the service on the Horizon YouTube channel at 2 p.m.
Luis Ruspini wrote, "Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in." Well, today seems both strange and familiar to me, as I'm sure it does to many of you. The last couple of years have been full of all kinds of surprises, fear, and change. Coping has become a larger challenge than it used to be for many of us around the world. It is the ability to find some joy in each day, sometimes on our own, and often through the help of others around us, that helps many of us to keep waking and working and believing in a better tomorrow. And that, I believe, is why we in this community come together here, to find comfort in the familiar and support when dealing with the surprises that life deals us, to make new friends and renew old friendships, to share what makes each of us unique, and to learn what makes each of us and others unique, to be in community with others who want to make this world a better place for all. So come, let us enter. Come, let us join in rejoicing and possibly mourning. Come, let us create the bonds of community once again. All right, for those of you who do not know me, I cry at Hallmark commercials. So if I get choked up doing this, that's just me. Come, let us create the bonds of community once again with people we know and people we do not yet know. Come, let us create worship together. That famous wise person, Anonymous, said, "May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. And now, please join in saying the affirmation which is printed on the back of the order of service and projected on the screen. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together.
Now please remain seated for our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, number 361 in your gray hymnal. Feel free to hum along as Dan Crane sings it for us.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
We will now collect the offering to support the work of this church in our communities and in our world. And as we do, please enjoy today's offertory, Bourrée, by George Telemann, performed by Carmen Dubrova.
Love is the doctrine of this church, and it is with this principle that we walk with one another through our joys and sorrows, and especially in the ways that these things tend to arrive all at once in one tangled blessing we call life. There are no specific joys or sorrows to share today. But this morning we hold in our hearts all of those who are dealing with exposure to COVID, having to isolate once again because they've been exposed to someone or they've caught it themselves. Those who have lost loved ones, especially in this month when it is so difficult. to lose a loved one. Those who are grieving for oh so many different sorrows, we grieve with them. And at the same time, as joy and sorrow is woven finely together, we share in celebration with those who are celebrating a new child, a new job, the ability to join society again and not isolate. Even the joy of seeing something that looked like seagulls flying through the fog of a morning. All of these joys, large and small, we share in celebration. Beyond these that we have named aloud, let us honor those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken and yet live in the silence of our hearts. The stories of heartache or hope, beauty and loss, for all those places that need forgiveness, may forgiveness be given and received. For the division in our nation, in our families, and in our lives, may we be restored to a new wholeness. And for the many blessings of our lives, may our hearts be overcome with gratitude. As I light this candle, or just lit this candle, let us feel the ways we are all connected to each other and to all beings, knowing that what affects one affects us all.
For our first reading today, I meant to do my work today. I meant to do my work today, but a brown bird sang in the apple tree, and a butterfly flitted across the field, and all the leaves were calling me. And the wind went sighing over the land, tossing the grasses to or fro, and a rainbow held out a shining hand. So what could I do but laugh and go?
From Then There Were Three by Eleanor Fargen, published in 1942. The Earth. Did you know that the Earth is a star? Somebody far, far away at the end of the day looks out at the sky to see stars swimming by and cries, "Oh, how bright the Earth is tonight! How wonderful it must be, how rare to be born on the bright, bright earth up there. How the streams must shine, how the grass must glisten when the dew is risen. How clear and fine the rays must fall on the radiant seas and the fountains tall of the lustrous trees. On the glittering wall of the holly hedge and the sparkling sedge by the pearly pool. How the mud must gleam and the hilltops beam. How full of light it must be to live on the bright, bright earth I see turning up there, swimming away on the lambent air. Didn't you know you are born on a star? Well, you are. And this brings us to what makes this service different from every other service here in the year. Not that any two services are alike. We know that better than many, I think. But today's service, there isn't a sermon. There's not a minister leading it. It's a sharing service because it's you bringing your thoughts and inspirations that makes the sermon. So Alan and I have shared, and there's probably another sharing left from at least one of us, maybe both. Who would like to come up and be the first to share?
I wanted to share a poem by Barry Oliver on meditating, sort of. Meditation, so I've heard, is best accomplished if you entertain a certain strict pose. Frankly, I just prefer to hang out under a tree. So why should I think that I would ever be successful? Some days I fall asleep or land in that even better place, half sleep, where the world, spring, summer, autumn, winter, flies through my mind in its hearty ascent and uncompromising descent. So I just lie like that, while the distance and time reveal their true attitudes. They never heard of me, and never will, or even need to. Of course, I wake up finally, thinking of how wonderful it is to be who I am, made out of earth and water, my own thoughts, my own fingerprints, all that glorious, temporary stuff.
So this is by a book that I did called Programming Poetry, but don't worry, the first one's not too technical, so. This may sound strange or even crazy, but hear me out and let me speak. The logic here might just seem hazy, but believe me, it's far from weak. If there was someone who wants to know if a career in coding is what to try, before they spend a bunch of dough or for some training they apply, have them try writing down a song. The staff then measures all that stuff. Not composing, don't get me wrong, just one tune should be enough. You see, the way you write each note has logic and a bunch of rules. the kind of thing we coders promote and what is taught in computer schools. No need to get an instrument and play or pluck or strum it. Just write the music document and to yourself then hum it. It may really seem unrelated, but if they try it, they may find that if a score they have created, then they have a programmer's mind. This one's a little more technical, but it's a sonnet, so Unto the pit I cast my feeble code, the processor doth hunger for the bits, in hopes it will accept my logic ode, and that it will not cause compiler fits. As word and letter are consumed and checked, each core doth burn with heat so red and bold, that fans do roar and spin near to be wrecked, to cool the silicone in paths of gold. As CPU doth agitate and hum, and through each file doth it scan and churn, it translates bytes and calculates the sum, while through great watts of power doth it burn. It nears the end, and doth my face fair grin? Alas, an error has occurred again.
Good morning. I had not prepared this, but I think it's important for you to know, and I think you would want to know, that our congregation touched a very precious experience this week. A couple of us who are members here and part of our justice team went down to the Dallas County Jail, and our affiliate group, Faith in Texas, bailed 9 people out of jail for the Christmas season. It's hard to remember the way our system works, that when a person is arrested, they're not guilty, they're just arrested. And they go to jail, and if they can't afford to get out, they have to sit there until their court date comes up. The people that we met this week, one had been there since Halloween, one had been there 30 days. He was the one I talked with the most, and he said in that 30 days he had lost his job. His wife had been evicted, and he couldn't even contact her. He didn't know how he was going to find her. But he was out, and when we asked him, what is there that we can do for you today? He said, I need a job, because he had lost his job. And it reminds you of the stories of the debtor's prison, where people, it's really the same thing. But by allowing those 9 people to be out and caring for their families and working until their court date comes up, then we've allowed people to not be evicted and to care for themselves. And the sweet part of that is that they could be with their families for Christmas. So I think we all should feel proud for that.
I have just a brief thought to share with you. During the Christmas season, when hanging up thousands and thousands of lights and wrapping presents into the wee hours of the morning, and then getting up and preparing the dinner and making sure that all the presents were wrapped, you haven't forgotten any of them, and all the people have presents, you haven't forgot anyone, and you're stressing out the trifle didn't come out just perfectly, and all these stresses, and you get so exhausted sometimes, and then you ask yourself, is it worth it? And I have to say, yes, it is. Our Christmas dinner, we had my daughter's boyfriend over, and he says he loves coming over because no one else that he knows of does the Christmas lights and the nice dinner and the Christmas celebration. And my nephew and his wife were over for about the fourth time, and they're moving to California next year, and they said they're sorely going to miss this tradition of Christmas that we were able to give to them. And my brother-in-law is over, and he says he will always come over for Christmas. So it's not exactly what a tradition is, it's just the fact that you have a tradition that makes that tradition worth it.
I love our hymnal. There's so many wonderful songs. I'm not in the choir, so I am not a singer, but although I enjoy it when I have the opportunity. We have all of these beautiful readings in the back, and I wanted to share two of them with you today. The first is by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's 661. And actually, both of these are responsive readings. So if you have a hymnal nearby and would like to participate, that would be delightful. I was planning to read both parts, but I'm like, I don't have to because this is a community. We can share this together. So this is by Emerson, number 661, The Heart Knoweth. And I'll read the regular parts, and then if y'all read the italics. We have a great deal more kindness than is ever spoken. The whole human family is bathed with an element of love, like a fine ether. How many persons we meet in houses whom we scarcely speak to, whom yet we honor and who honor us. Read the language of those wandering eye-beams. The next reading is 662, right below it, by A. Powell Davies. Strange and Foolish Walls. The years of all of us are short, our lives precarious. Our days and nights go hurry along, and there's scarcely time to do the little that night. And yet we find time for bitterness, for petty treason and evasion. But what can we do to stretch our hearts enough to lose their littleness? Here we are, all of us, all upon this planet, bound together in a common destiny. Living our lives between the briefness of the daylight and the dark. Kindred in this, each lighted by the same precarious, flickering flame of life, how does it happen that we are not kindred in all things else? How strange and foolish these walls of separation that divide us. Thank you all for sharing with me today.
It is hard to follow that, but thank you. because it leads in nicely to this. I saw this letter to the editor yesterday in the Dallas Morning News. I don't know how many of you take a newspaper. My landlady does, and she shares it with me. And when she read this to me, I thought, well, I should bring this to tomorrow's sharing service. So, Dennis Fitzgerald from Melbourne, Australia, writes, I am writing this letter to Santa with a short list of presents, not for me, but for the world. Nobody else, especially our politicians, seems able to deliver them. 1, that people have access to safe, free COVID-19 vaccinations and the wisdom to take them. 2, that people, not just one girl, work to stop climate change now, not in 30 years' time. 3, that people accept and appreciate that all people come in a variety of ways. 4, that people can get what they need rather than what they want. Okay, maybe a little bit of chocolate for me? That should be a good start, and I'll return with more of the list next year. And yes, I have been a good boy. I often, at least 50% of the time, find myself arguing with letters to the editor. I also argue with the navigator on my cell phone. I may not win any of these arguments, but they make me think. I found nothing in this to argue with, and I found a renewal of hope and a new determination to be better now and in the future about how I treat this world and its inhabitants. Unless anybody else would like to come up and share, I think we've reached the end of the sermon portion. And so we will extinguish this chalice.
We extinguish the flame, but not our commitment to Horizon's mission: to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We do this because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in the just world.
And now, please remain seated for our closing hymn, Here We Have Gathered, number 360 in the gray hymnal. Feel free to hum along as Dan Crane sings it.
Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel that they've been heard. Sing now together this our heart's own song. Life has its battles, sorrows, and regrets, but in the shadows let us not forget. We who are gathered know each other's pain. Kindness and yielding feel they have gained. Sing now together this our heart's own song.
Thank you all for coming out today and bringing friends and family and sharing your gifts. And may 2022 be a happy new year for everyone. I believe it can be simply because the efforts of each of us make every day to make our world a better place.
One last quick announcement. If you would like to adopt any of the poinsettias beautifying the sanctuary during the Vanna bit, please come up to the chancel and take one home after the service. They are free to any good and loving home. Love offerings support the Flower Fund. They are not required, but always gratefully accepted.
Now please stand and take a minute to say hello to someone around you, especially someone you may not already know.
And then continue the conversation outside these doors, since it is such a beautiful day, and I believe we have coffee and water out there. Thank you all.